So this whole issue about Nnamdi Kanu, my people, is something that has been shaking tables, not just here in Nigeria, but across the world. Recently, a US rights group came out and dropped what they called hidden truths behind his detention. And from that moment, wahala started everywhere. People online, activists, even politicians started talking again. It's like a story that just refuses to end. Please, if you're just joining this gist, make sure you like this video and subscribe so you don't miss updates like this when they drop. Now, let's break it down calmly. Nnamdi Kanu, as we all know, is the leader of IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra. He's been in detention for a while now, and the case has gone through so many turns. From the way he was arrested abroad to how he was brought back to Nigeria, down to all the court appearances that followed, it's been drama upon drama. Some people believe he's being punished for his political views, while others say he crossed the line with his words and actions. Whichever side you stand on, one thing is sure: this matter has put Nigeria under a global spotlight again. Now, this US rights group, according to recent reports, released findings that made people sit up. They said in their words that Kanu's detention raises questions about human rights and fair trial. They pointed out things like how long he has been kept, the kind of access he has to his lawyers, and the overall transparency of his case. And you know how these things go. Once an international body speaks, social media picks it up, and the whole world starts paying attention. Guys, before we continue, please don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button. You're helping this channel grow and helping more people hear stories like this clearly. Back to it. After the report dropped, Nigeria reacted almost immediately. The government and security agencies stood their ground, saying the law must take its course. They said Kanu is facing serious charges and that the courts are handling everything according to the law. And to be fair, the judiciary has continued to sit on the case, even though there have been a lot of delays, withdrawals, and fresh filings. Just recently, some of his lawyers even withdrew from representing him, and reports said he decided to handle his case by himself. Now, that one shocked many people. How can someone in such a complicated case decide to stand alone in court? But Kanu, being who he is, strong-willed and confident, said he's ready to speak for himself. Please, guys, if you're following this gist, just take 1 second to like this video right now and subscribe. I want you to stay with me through this full breakdown. Now, when we talk about global uproar, we're not exaggerating. Activists from Europe, the US, and even parts of Africa have started calling for fresh investigations. Has Nigeria followed due process? Has Kanu's human rights been respected? These are the big questions. Some of these groups even wrote to international agencies, asking them to look into the matter. And what's interesting is how Nigerians reacted online. Some people are fully supporting the rights groups, saying at least the world can see what's happening. Others, however, are not happy about outsiders interfering in Nigeria's internal affairs. They're saying, this is our matter, let our courts handle it. And that right there shows how divided people are on this issue. But what no one can deny is that the story touches emotions. For some, Kanu is a freedom fighter who should be treated fairly. For others, he's a man who broke the law and must face it. Either way, this issue has become bigger than one man. It's now about justice, human rights, and how Nigeria is seen globally. Now, one thing that keeps coming up is this. The rights group claimed there were irregularities in how Kanu was brought back to Nigeria. Some reports say he was not extradited through proper legal channels. The Nigerian government has maintained that they followed security and diplomatic procedures. But international bodies want more transparency, and to make it more complicated, his trial keeps getting delayed, sometimes for security reasons, sometimes for administrative issues. This kind of delay makes people restless. And unrest is something no country wants, especially in these times. Let's not forget, too, that protests have happened in Abuja and other parts of the country because of this case. People have come out to demand his release or at least fair trial. Some protests turned rowdy. There were clashes, and security operatives had to step in. News agencies like Reuters, AP, and Punch have covered these moments, describing how tense things got. It's emotional because some of the protesters say they are just tired of seeing one of their own locked up without clear progress in court. But from the government's point of view, they say they can't just release someone facing such serious charges. They say justice must be served properly. And here's where I want you to think a bit. Do you believe this issue is still just about one man? Or has it become something bigger? Let me know what you think in the comments. And please, while you're at it, like this video and subscribe to support the channel. You know I love giving you clear stories like this that help you understand what's really going on. Now, let's talk about what the courts have done so far. The prosecution has been working to prove their case, bringing in documents, recordings, and evidence that they claim tie Kanu to the alleged offenses. But the defense has often argued that much of this evidence doesn't directly prove any wrongdoing. At one point, the defense even made what's called a no-case submission, which basically means they're saying the evidence presented so far isn't enough to continue this case. The court had to review that submission carefully. And you know court matters in Nigeria. They take time. Sometimes new motions are filed, new judges assigned, and dates shifted. So every few months, this story comes back to the front page again. Let's also not forget the political side of it. Many leaders, especially from the Southeast, have appealed for dialogue. They say the situation is fueling tension in the region, and that peace would be easier if there's understanding between the government and the people. They're calling for political solutions instead of only legal ones. And to be honest, that's something we should all think about, because at the end of the day, no matter who's right or wrong, stability is what everyone needs. Like this video if you agree that peace should come through dialogue, not conflict. Now, what makes this story even more global is the involvement of rights organizations. Once they release statements, you can expect headlines all over the place. Some of these organizations have even said that detaining anyone for too long without a clear, transparent trial can affect a country's reputation. It sends a message to the world about how justice works here. And if you think about it, that kind of attention can affect how other nations interact with Nigeria in trade, diplomacy, and foreign aid. So it's deeper than it looks, and honestly, the longer this continues, the more complicated it becomes. People want justice, but they also want fairness. The courts want to follow the law, but the public wants quicker answers. Activists want freedom for him, but the government wants order. It's a real balancing act. And in situations like this, communication matters a lot. The more transparent both sides are, the better for everyone. Now, let's talk about what could happen next. If the court eventually rules that there's no solid case against him, that could lead to his release. But if the evidence stands and the court finds cause to continue, then it could mean a longer legal journey. Either way, this is one of those moments in Nigeria's democracy that will be remembered for how it's handled. And people will always ask, did justice truly prevail? Please, before we go further, click that like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. You don't want to miss updates when new information drops about this case. Something else worth noting is the emotional side. Many families, especially in the Southeast, feel connected to this case. They see it as part of their collective story, their history, their pain, their hope. And when emotions are that deep, even small court decisions can spark big reactions. That's why the government keeps urging calm and patience. But again, patience runs thin when people feel unheard. Internationally, the story has taken different tones. Some analysts see it as a test of Nigeria's democracy, a test of whether the rule of law truly works for everyone. Others see it as an example of why dialogue and inclusion are so important. If certain groups feel excluded or unheard, frustration builds up, and situations like this can explode. That's why responsible leadership is key right now. If the leaders can find a middle ground, a way to show fairness while keeping order, it would send a strong message that Nigeria can solve its issues internally and peacefully. So, my people, as we continue to follow this story, remember this. Every word, every decision, every headline around Nnamdi Kanu now carries weight. It affects not just politics, but how people feel about justice in general. Whether you support him or not, what we all want is fairness, truth, and peace. That's what builds a strong country. Please, again, like this video if you're following, and subscribe for more balanced and easy to understand breakdowns of stories like this.